Depression is often misunderstood in many cultures, especially where resilience and emotional toughness are highly valued. A lot of people suffering from depression are told to snap out of it, pray, or be strong. However, depression is not a sign of weakness. However, depression is a medical condition that requires understanding, support, and proper care. Welcome to the Year's Healthy Living Show, where we discuss vital health issues and offer practical solutions to help you live your best life. Today on Year's Healthy Living Show, we focus on spotlight on overcoming depression in a culture that says be strong. Because most times when people are going through life challenges, keep telling them be strong, pray, it's well, snap out of it. Today we want to talk about depression as a mental health issue that has plagued a lot of people in recent times. Joining the conversation today on the program, I have Jeremiah Inger, clinical psychologist and state mental health specialist, lending his voice to this very important discussion with regards to depression. I am Priska Wako. Good evening, Mr. Jeremiah. Welcome to the program.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to have you too.
So the pleasure is ours. All right, so just like I stated earlier, we'd like to talk about depression, especially in the culture where people are expected to be strong, where people are expected to, chin up, keep moving on. Nothing is happening if you're depressed. And some people will even go as far as saying that it's a white people's illness, or it's something that is peculiar to whites, that is not part of us. That depression, which one is depression? Beg, you gotta sit down. People do not actually take it very serious. But actually, it is a serious health condition with regards to your mental health. But Dr. Jeremiah is here to lay his part out, especially the misconceptions that people have that depression is all about just being sad. Is it true or not? Well, we'd like to begin with understanding what depression is. When people talk about depression, what do they mean?
Okay, so basically, it depends on how people see those things. But as a clinician, I'm basically a professional, if you ask me, and I have to let people know why we're here today talking about depression. I'll tell you, generally, the world go, in the global world, depression tends to be a mental health condition that affects the way of your thoughts, the way you feel, the way you act, the way you even reason, and how it affects your world, and you perceive the whole world together. So it's wrong for people to think depression does not actually exist, because it lives right there with you. It can be genetic, it can be situational, it can be environmental, it can also come from different angles depending from life stressors. Now, but before you say someone is depressed, there are some criteria and symptoms this person is exhibiting that makes you come to a term to say, okay, this person is depressed. It's not like, someone wakes up today and is feeling sad, and then you now say that person is actually depressed. No, not at all. It is normal for someone to feel sad. It's a normal thing with every human being. You can wake up today and feel sad because of, the way you react to a particular stimuli. You get, and it's affecting you. If you're not an unhappy person, then something is wrong with you as well, But when you say somebody is depressed, this symptom has to be exhibited by someone for a period of at least 2 weeks and up. And these symptoms can be as a result of maybe, let's say, for instance, you are feeling sad. Today you feel sad, tomorrow you feel sad, consistently for 2 weeks and above. And not just feeling sad, you get lots of interest in pleasurable activities. You're a man who's been having sex with your girlfriend, or having sex with your husband, or having sex with your wife, and all of a sudden you wake up and for the past 2 weeks or even 2 months or 1 month, you just lost interest in that aspect of your lifestyle, and it's what you love doing, especially, sex, and then you lost interest in that, and over a period of 2 weeks, it's a clinical sign for depression. For us, when diagnosing, once that is being noticed, for someone, as a man especially, when a man loses interest in sex, it becomes a trigger. It's a red flag. If I'm diagnosing, if I'm seeing the patient or seeing a client and that is being identified, you don't need to probe further.
What if the man is very busy, he's traveling, he's making money, hustling? Wouldn't it be the reason why he is not?
You see, that's, like I said, that's not like losing interest. It's pursuing a goal. It's not like he's in the house with you. And he's not, you understand, he has lost interest. Even when the woman makes attempts,
He will rebel.
Exactly. For 2 weeks and up becomes a problem. And then you also look at it that he start isolating himself from people. Yeah, you know, he doesn't want to sit where the kids are, the mother is, you know, the family. You know, when people gather, you just go into the room, lock the door, and he's just on his or her own. You know, you're not talking to anybody. Self-withdrawal, self-isolation. It's a sign, right? Then you now also see that there is a poor, in fact, a serious decline in his hygiene. He has a poor hygiene. Someone who takes his bath morning, afternoon, evening, or morning and evening now decides that he wakes up for 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, he's not having his bath, right? There's a sharp decline in appetite. So you can see that this must also be like consistently for at least 2 weeks. Mind my words, 2 weeks and up. Not just, okay, somebody woke up today and I did not eat, and maybe tomorrow did not eat. 2 days is not enough. It must be 2 weeks and upwards. That's according to the DSM-5, which is the almighty manual that we'll look into to diagnosing the guiding principles for every clinician, you understand? So that's about depression, and it's something, like I said, the world and the people watching out there, don't just say you are depressed when you are not. It's normal for you to be sad, but look at the symptoms out there. And it's wrong for you to feel someone is depressed, then, you know, somebody's weak. Depression is real. It's a real illness. It's not something about someone feeling he or she is weak. It takes a lot for someone to pull out of it. It's not something you think someone can just pull out, then you are wrong. But with the right treatment and support, reasonable people living with depression can come out of depression.
All right, so, you know, just like I stated earlier when we started, I said here in this part of the world, people do not see, some persons do not see depression as a real thing. So people will even refer to it as a white people or foreign disease. In fact, they don't even acknowledge that it's something. And that is why most people are quick to respond, be strong, snap out of it, which one is depression. You understand? So why do you think we do that? Is it because we have not acknowledged that it's something, or is it because it's easier for us to just say be strong than actually facing what the root cause of the whole illness is?
Okay, so it stems from a lot of beliefs system, right? So, and I also want to say there's also poor awareness system or creation on ground. You know, people a lot in this part of the world do not know much about mental health. We have very low awareness, particularly concerning mental health. And people tend to relegate mental health to the backside. And I bet you, there's no health without mental health. Because if you wake up now, anything that affects any aspect of the brain, totally you are down. It's better you even have malaria or you have any other illness to affect your brain. Because that's the workshop that controls the body system and makes you do anything in the society. So, you know, people tend to look at it and say, okay, just like you said, that just snap away, be strong, you know, it's not what is depression. It's because they don't know the severity of that illness and they lack the basic knowledge about the depression is about mental health. And because of the cultural system we have, you understand, and the African culture and the Nigerian perspective about where we come from, we believe that the African man or a Nigerian man or the Igbo man, the Odogu, should be strong. Yeah, how can a Odogu man, let me say, how can an Odogu be weak? Do you get? And even when we are suffering and we are battling with this emotional trauma, emotional issue, you know, we are trying to paint a picture out there that you are strong until you get down. So we need to rise up to the realization and understanding the fact that we have a problem. And when it hits you, you seek help. Right? Now, someone can have depression and be walking around with you. And so people will feel, okay, it's okay. But it depends on the type of depression. Depression is in stages. You know, we have the mild depression, the moderate depression, and then you have the major depression and the severe depression. Do you get? Now, someone can have mild depression and be functioning and be working with you, right? But when it gets to moderate, it still can be managing. But when it gets to major, he breaks down. So it's at that point in time that you see them, they now start rushing them to the hospital and then trying to remediate and all of this. And see people start, and because of the belief systems and the cultural practice people have, if you you can't be saying you have depression and snap out of it. They believe you should be strong. Yeah, if you are saying you're having depression, then it means you're not doing well. You're a weak person. But it's real. Depression is real. It's a mental condition. It's not something to just snap out of it, right? Just like I said. we have to understand, like I said, it depends on the stages. Like there are situational factors. Someone who suffers, let me paint this picture. Let's say you have someone who is doing well in his business. Let's say in the Southeast here where we have people that typically business is their source of livelihood. And someone who has been saying like 100 million a week or 50 million a week, all of a sudden the business crumbles and then he's beginning to battle and struggle within seeing 5 million even in a week. And that person now falls into depression. And then he's talking to a friend, and the friend is telling him, Omo, get out of this now, be strong, you're a weak person, you can still get over this. There's something about life adjustment skills and patterns. And that's where people, like I said before, people have issues, we call that adjustment disorder. As you grow in life, you can't turn back the hands of time. You're not an adult, you can never go back to where you are, right? So that's when depression comes in, and you have a problem with your business. And then you were already earning like 200 million or 100 million. How can you now fit in having just 5 million in a month? That particular realization, that reality at that point in time comes in. And that is the weight of the symptom upon the person's brain that brings about depression. Economic challenge, financial instability. This person has a lot of issues that he's trying to meet up in the family. And then you see he breaks down. How will you talk that kind of person out of depression? Is that person being weak? No. But that person cannot accept the current reality at that point in time, the situation he has found himself in. So he would definitely be down. And until treatment is rendered, that person might never recover from that. So people get to know depression is not just about you're weak. It's real and it's severe. And I want to tell you that currently now in Nigeria has about, by global rating scale about depression, Nigeria is 10. Number 10 in the world. With the highest number of people suffering from depression. Now, by that now, it means in every 100 people you screen, you will get 10 people with depression. You see how high that is, right? On the global scale of people with suicide in the world, Nigeria stands 12. So the statistics are there. Check WHO 2023 data report on world mental health. You look at it. So it's real, and people, I think this platform now is really bringing people to understand the effect and the impact of mental health and how people need to, embrace this and look at it very seriously. Because it affects you within your family, where you are with your husband and your wife in the home. It's affecting you, but you wouldn't know except you go for a checkup.
Okay. Now, we all acknowledge the fact, like you said, and I stated earlier, that we are in a culture where people are not encouraged to talk about mental health challenges because we're known to be resilient and strong people. So when this kind of thing happens, people do not expect you to start acting out of character, yeah? So most times, people that are depressed find it difficult speaking to people about their mental health challenges because they might be worried, the stigma. What if it gets out that I'm going to a shrink, I'm going to a psychologist because I'm depressed? How will people see me? And the truth of the matter is, people would definitely view you a certain type of way. Because they say this one, she's mad. They might even say that you're mad. They say, she don't decrease, so she don't decolo and all those things. Meanwhile, you're just battling something that could actually be solved if you speak to the right people. So in this type of environments where we are not encouraged to talk about our feelings, what next? Is it for people or patients that are suffering from depression? How do they handle it?
All right, so thank you very much for that question. Now, you see, that's another aspect of clinical management of depression and other mental health conditions. It's one of the components we have about the biopsychosocial model in management of all these mental health conditions. Now, okay, when you as a doctor, you are treating with medications, you have other clinical teams, the psychologists and all of that, treating the behavioral aspect and the psychological, emotional factors there, right? Then you have the community and the cultural perspective we are talking about, which is the environmental factor, the social, the biopsychosocial factors. Now, that's the social component of it. The community forms under that social component, and the religious factor falls under that social component, right? And now, that brings us to what you're talking about. People feel it is, let me say, a taboo for you to say you are depressed and you shouldn't talk about it. That is a trigger, it's a factor that is pushing a lot of people and contributes to why people are now being depressed and they cannot get help. Now, it's also a factor that is causing this. Now, in a situation now we need to create awareness for people to know that you can speak up about your mental health condition and no one will kill you. Truth be told, you are trying, but you can't deceive nature. Ordinarily, people feel Africans are strong and okay, like the Igbo man, you shouldn't talk about it. You're not encouraged to do that. But I want to thank Her Excellency for creating a platform like this, and through you, that we're talking about mental health. This is the awareness we need to create, right? Bringing it to people's knowledge that you need to talk about your mental health. Even when you are down, and you feel like you're not encouraged to do this, like you're an odogo and it's a stigma. Truth be told, we cannot rule out the factor that you can't do away with stigma, but we can always advocate and create the awareness. People will definitely talk. People will definitely stigmatize, right? But this is you. You should keep yourself first. Think about your health first. If you die, those people continue with their lifestyle. So you have to look at for yourself and speak out. And I'm calling on key stakeholders out there to do more of this, stakeholders engagements, awareness we are doing right here now for people to understand about the mental health. The governor's wife can kill in to also have a platform whereby she can actually do a mental health, screening for the public. Let's say for the secondary schools in Anambra State. I bet you the rate of depression or mental health conditions among adolescents in Nigeria today is high. Until they are screened, you wouldn't know. It's even more among the youth, right? And then that gives a platform whereby people get to know. And even the people that see themselves like the Odogu, some of them, their financial challenges are even high. And until then, we'll come to a point whereby there's a platform to speak up. They wouldn't know. So we need more of this assessment. We need more of this awareness we are doing. So the only way we can get through that is this social awareness we are creating. And without people can begin to talk about it. It's not a stigma. It's not a taboo for you to speak about depression. It is an illness. Everyone falls sick. So until you come to that realization and people begin to accept it. And in Nigeria today, mental health is no longer hidden. It has been incorporated into the health system that you must be screened. So gone are those people feel, oh, if you have depression, then you're mad. Like I said, lack of knowledge is what kills a black man, right? If you are depressed, you're not mad. So let me just throw a little light on that, okay? For you people to be able to talk about your mental health, if you are depressed, you're not mad. When you say someone is mad, to an extent, that's labeling. That's the Nigerian pidgin, right? But, in DSM-5 and in the classification of mental health disorders, we have what we call the neurosis and psychosis, right? So until someone begins to walk naked on the streets there, that's somebody can refer to, like in the pidgin, is mad. That is psychosis. The person might be having some level of schizophrenia. Those are the levels where you can say somebody is mad. But depression is not madness. So I think I'll stop at that point. Let me not bore you with a lot of jargons.
Okay. Well, yeah, somebody asked me a question. I think that was yesterday. I think we're discussing this topic. That I was telling the person that that's what we're going to be treating on Healthy Living Show. So the person was asking me, do I think depression is something genetic or something that is situational? Well, I just told the person that since it's a mental health condition, chances are that to a certain extent, there might be a little bit of genetics involved in it. So I don't know, was that true or was I just...
Yeah, you are very correct. Very correct. 100% correct.
So there are chances that genetics could actually...
Yes. So now the chances are 50-50, right? Yes, in the sense that depression is genetic on a 50% scale. And then on this other side of it is 50% situational, psychologically, emotionally, and societal. Right? Now, that's when you talk about the nature-nurture controversy, the biological and the environmental factors that contribute to bringing about this issue of mental health conditions. Now, why do I say so? If you say depression can be genetic, it's accepted, it's true. Now, but it's 50% in major depression. Now, if you come from a family whereby one or two persons have suffered from depression, let's say the father or the mother, or a first-degree relation, that's how we call it, right? There's tendency that the offspring will come up with depression, especially when it comes to, major depression, and it's even higher in severe depression, right? The traits are there. Now, what happens is such people, little triggers trigger those trigger the depression to now come into full-blown scale, right? Like I said, having a first-degree relation that has a mental health condition, or let's say depression as a mental health condition, there's 50% chances of the offspring coming up with depression. So you were right. It's both genetic and it's both environmental, like psychological as well.
Okay, so what are the consequences of people leaving depression untreated for so long?
Okay, so now, the consequences of people living depression untreated are enormous. Now, this person, it hampers or hinders the person's daily functioning in the society, right? There's inadequate productivity on the hand of that person. The person loses interest in a lot of things. The business may collapse, and there will be no more functionality in the person's day-to-day life activities. And it begins to affect, it creates burdens on the caregiver, the wife or the kids or the father or the mother, be it whoever is the victim or who is the client or the patient at that point in time. Are you getting me now, right? So now there's this burden of caregiver that you have to care for someone for a whole lifetime when you leave that untreated. Now, there's also the tendency of this, manifesting into a very full-blown major depressive disorder or severe depression, and can turn to suicide. Now, there's a thin line between depression and suicide. It can trigger suicide because it brings about the feelings of someone feeling worthless, hopeless, and never seeing life anymore to live anymore. He feels, okay, fine. What's the essence of me living again? And at that point in time, the person is contemplating suicide. And this person might commit suicide. And the death of a loved one in the family can trigger trauma in another person. Are you seeing the chain? It's a chain reaction, which cannot be seen with your eyes, but emotionally, it now begins to come. Because now, if maybe the father now dies, or the husband now dies, the wife might develop trauma, right? And in that case, the child might even commit suicide because he or she has lost the father. Now, the burden of economic burden will come upon the mother, taking care of the kids. So it's a very big problem, living depression untreated. It can cause a lot of financial challenges, can also cause about other mental health conditions in the family, can also trigger other serious damages in the family, like I said, the burden of care.
Okay, so how do you think families and communities can actually create a safe space for people battling with depression?
Very well. So, let me give you a typical example. I'll answer that with a practical illustration. Okay, so during ward rounds or when I'm having a review with my clients or my patients, it's a team, right? So, while you treat, we recommend the family support. There's a component of family support, there's a component of individual support, and there's a component of social support, right? I told you about the biopsychosocial model in treatment. It's kind of a holistic treatment, otherwise the person will not be able to recover. If someone tells you just treat depression just by medication and the person will be fine, it's not telling you the truth. One aspect of the system is lacking behind, and that person needs to address. Now, you can give medications, and over time, the person will not get relief. But then the reintegration into the family becomes a problem, right? So now, it has to be an emotional support. While you are treating this client, you bring the family, make them understand. You make them understand the treatment plan, to understand the consequences and the history of this illness. When they understand this, they know how best they can support. Emotionally, giving the person a sense of hope, which serves as a meaning. Also giving the person from the point of source of inspiration, right? There's also a hope to live. So when there's that team bonding, there's that family support, there's that friend support, there's individual support, the person is much more likely to recover, right? So this is where the community comes in. Now, the community can create a safe space in the sense that you have to encourage people to understand that everyone needs everyone. You can't just live in a community and grow as an individual. Communities have to preach about, or encourage people to do their mental health assessments and show love and support. You know, we live in a competitive world and everyone wants to say, I'm bigger than you, I'm bigger than you. It's a kind of trauma and also sends some kind of, triggers to people. But there should be some love, collective efforts of encouraging youth or encouraging each and every one to live happily. So in that perspective, there can be a way of making people integrate and people also do what? Thrive in such places when they have mental health conditions. But when there is stigma, there's a problem. When there's discrimination, there's a problem. So psychoeducation of people about mental health conditions is key, and the community can utilize this platform and utilize this term to be able to make people recover and create safe havens for them. So that's it.
Okay, like if somebody is battling depression, sometimes because people are scared of talking to mental health experts, because of the way that they might be perceived, some people might resort to speaking to someone, maybe someone they tag as a confidence, a trusted friend. But the challenge is that most times, maybe if there is a fallout in the future, that person might decide to use those private things you told the person when you were going through a difficult time, in this case depression, against you. Do you think this kind of behavior might actually discourage people from talking to anyone, trusted or otherwise?
Very well, 100%. Because
so
it's also
the best approach to always talk to a medical
exactly
expert?
Speak to a mental health expert or a healthcare provider. In that way, your confidentiality is guaranteed.
But
there's no way.
Really?
What?
Is it really?
Yeah.
There are no chances that somehow it might get out.
No. Now this is it. For every healthcare provider, right? There's a bond. You understand? There's an ethical provision that binds you of the secrecy, of the confidentiality of your client or your patient. On no account should you disclose the information of your client either to your husband or your wife or your kids or anybody. Take for instance now, Mr. A comes into the clinic to see me and he comes with his wife. And at the point of me attending to him, he's still an adult. He signs the consent form. And part of my responsibility is to protect his confidentiality. Before I disclose any information to the third party or the second party, who is even his wife, right? I need to seek his consent. If he says no, you can't even tell the third person. Because if you do, your license is at stake. You can sue me, and my license will be withdrawn. And I will not practice anymore. So you can imagine the years of training. And I'll lose it because of that. So that's born. And that's one of the things that gives clients and patients the confidence in confiding in their healthcare providers because they know it is safer with them than with even your best friend. So it's better, I tell you, and I encourage people, speak to an expert, speak to a healthcare provider, rather than saying you're speaking to a friend. It's not guaranteed because when it happens, the person will let it out, and you can't hold the person. You can't do anything, but as a healthcare provider, he or she knows that his or her license is at stake. He can be sued. Maybe people might not know this, but okay, I'm bringing it to people are knowing today that your healthcare provider can be sued, so he knows that your confidentiality is of utmost importance, and he has the right to protect you. So I can even attend to you and not tell your husband. I can even attend to your husband and not tell you, except both of you agree, and in my presence say, okay, tell her or tell him, and that's, you sign. You must even still sign. I will give you a form to sign before I can even disclose that information to you. The only people you have the right to disclose information to a third party without their consent are children below 17 years who do not have the right to consent. So that you can disclose to their father, to their mother, or the caregiver or the guardian. Because that person is standing in for that baby, or that child, or that teenager. Because he or she does not have the right to consent.
Okay, earlier, before the program started, we were bantering, we were having a banter, and I was talking to you about my colleagues. I was saying, look at this one, does he look depressed? He said that you've not spoken to him. So what I want to ask is, are there practices or lifestyle factors that people can engage in that can actually help them cope with their depression?
Yes. So basically, like you said, practices. Professionally, we call it coping mechanisms. Right? So now there are a lot of coping mechanisms people can engage in that can help them to cope. And in the course of treatment plan, while they are on treatment, they can also, walk through the depression skills and be able to overcome. And that's for those that are what? In treatment. And for people who are not yet into treatment or they are not diagnosed of depression, part of the coping strategies is, one, try as much as possible to live a healthy lifestyle. Practice the things that makes you happy. Exactly. Find time. No matter how busy you are as a businessman, or no matter how tight your schedules are, find time, take yourself out, have vacation, spend time with your family, do what makes you happy, right? Drink a lot of water, eat fruits.
Not alcohol, though.
Well, you see, sometimes, this is the second time I've been placed on the spot like this on this kind of program, right? But this is me being professional here right now.
Yeah.
You can't decide for your client, right? That don't take alcohol, don't take soft drink, right? Now, what I can do as a professional, I can only manage your level of alcohol consumption if I see it is dangerous to your health, which is also, in the clinical management of depression and also other mental health conditions, we talk about substance use disorder. So if I see that the way you consume alcohol or substances is leading to a way that is dangerous to your health, that can lead you to a substance use disorder, I will now begin to work with you on harm reduction techniques. Are you saying that now? So that you can be able to curtail the level of alcohol you take in over time to be able to get back yourself.
Okay, so let me understand. So you're saying that it's not up to you to tell your clients the coping mechanism that they can use to cope with their depression. Is that what you're saying?
I can't. Well, you see, let's say I meet a client who has not been taking alcohol. I can't recommend alcohol for a client to go and take as a coping mechanism.
And if the client starts taking it?
Because there's likelihood of addiction and dependence in alcohol use. So it means trying to do good for the person and pushing the person into another danger. Right? So you look at, that's why you see, when you meet a client, you are looking at, first thing first, you do assessments. And in this your assessment, you're able to collect the biological aspect of primordial personality and other past history, past medical history, past psychiatric history, you understand, and all of that put into together. This gives you a holistic idea of who you are dealing with. And then it guides your treatment formulation.
Okay.
Right? Now, so part of the, like I said, coping strategies has to do, take enough rest, sleep well, eat well, drink a lot of water, do a lot of exercises, do things that makes you happy. Treat yourself nice, take yourself on a vacation, right? As much as possible, avoid toxic environments. If you feel when you are with some people, they can trigger your anger or can make you begin to feel in a competitive environment that it's not healthy for you, pull out of that environment. Let's say, for instance, now I'm a young man, right? And I happen to realize that anytime I'm sitting with a particular set of people that are making me feel more or less of a human being compared to them, like I don't belong to that class.
So you avoid it?
Exactly. And in this perspective, that if you begin to strive as much as possible to live at that cadre, you're going to stress yourself beyond the limits what your brain can carry. Do justice to yourself by withdrawing to yourself and maintain the level where you are. The hands we turn, destinies are different. No one has the same destiny that you think you must be on the same table with someone. Right from birth, someone must be higher than another person. That's why even two identical twins, one can be richer than the other one. So, you don't determine your destiny, but remember, you can walk your destiny. So, the life of competition should be as much as possible avoided.
So it could lead to depression?
It could. And that's why you see our youth now on the streets now, everyone wants to be rich in a day. And you see them, a lot of them going into things that, the society tend to see abnormal. Like you can see the governor recently, going about, declaring Operation Search. Well, you can talk about the Yahoo boys and all of that. Exactly, you see. So now, it's because of competition. The generation now wants to make money. They don't want to do the legal things to make money. Anyhow they make money, they want to make money.
Money is money.
Money is money. As far as they're living to their expectations, oh, I'm this person, I'm this person. Do you understand now? So now, in that perspective, this person that now dupes someone in the course of the practices on online, they call it, pressing, you get, and then you dupe someone. The other person that you've been able to, defraud will run into depression because he has lost a whole lot of money. And now, the younger person of that set generation that is seeing you driving maybe a G-Wagon, driving this, let's say a young guy of my age now driving a G-Wagon and I cannot afford it, begins to send, and I want to live like, I'll now begin to trying to live in a competitive lifestyle, and it will be affecting my level of thoughts, right? It will make me feel less of a human being. That's develop a low self-esteem, right? Make me feel worthless. And it won't get worse when your family now start issuing what is it not your mates that is driving that car, see your mates are doing well, and you know, those things now, depression comes in. So it comes from different angles. So I think I've answered that to a greater extent.
Okay, so can someone truly recover from depression, or is it a lifelong struggle? Is this something that eventually, when you probably adopt some coping mechanisms, is something you can manage, or you start going to the hospital, start talking to a psychologist or something, and eventually it goes away? Or is this something that will always be with you at some point, but just creep is up we head on?
Okay, so when people think that way, they are wrong.
What way exactly? There is a lifelong, continuous struggle?
That's why I'm saying snapping out of it, just like that. Now, when people think that way, they are wrong. Why did I say they are wrong? Depression is not just a weakness, like people say it. It's a real mental condition. It's an illness. And no one can just snap out of it like that just by talking to someone. Right? But the good news here is this. With the proper treatment and support, majority of the people can regain recovery, full recovery. But mark my words, like I said, proper treatment and support. Not just say, leave depression now. What is depression? You can get. It's real illness. It's not a weakness. Right? You must be treated medically, psychologically, and emotionally.
So talking about emotions, well, heartbreak has been purported to be one of the major reasons why a lot of people, especially, well, I don't know if it's a myth. Do men also battle depression when it comes to heartbreak? Now, I'm making it specific. When it comes to heartbreak, men battling depression, or do they battle depression as a result of heartbreak? Because studies have shown that a lot of people, especially women, go into depression because of heartbreak. And now they've termed it, you know, that the thing about something bad is we always find a word that will make it sound tush in the air, as if it takes away the negativity from it. And we no longer call it heartbreak. We say they serve you breakfast. You understand? So
you see,
this heartbreakage, is it more peculiar to the women as opposed to the men? Do men also recipient of it as a cause of depression?
okay, so let me take you back to literatures. Statistically, if you look at it, like I told you, the statistics of depression in Nigeria stands at 10th. In every 100 people you screen, you get 10% depressed. And majority of these people that are depressed are men.
Men?
Yes. Men have the highest number of depression than women.
Really?
Yes, and it's same with suicide.
Men commit more suicide than women?
Exactly, that's the funny thing.
Why?
Now you can look at it, it's not even to even ask. Just look at it in Nigeria from last year to now, you can see the number of suicides that have been committed in Nigeria, and you can be, tracing from Lagos till now. Men.
But I thought men were supposed to be the strongest sex.
That's how people think. Now, but that's what we talk about, the society, factors and triggers. Exactly. Now, see, a lot of things contribute to why men get depressed. It's not just about women. A man wakes up thinking a lot of things because of the societal pressure, the cultural pressure that's in a society like this to be a man. Now, one thing that pushes him is the fact that he has to live to the responsibility or the expectations of the society. Right? Now, people are expecting that because you're a man, you're the head of the family, you have to provide. Yes. Now, he's struggling to provide for the family, like I said, the wife, the kids, and then the siblings are there, extended families are there. In quote. He's juggling his head on how to meet all these demands. And when he gets home now and the wife is there giving him another hit, instead of being the peace in the house. Now, you see, he becomes a very toxic environment for him. And at that point in time, he begins to do what? Think a lot of worry, having sleepless nights, and then because you see that's when some people even start drinking, to look at it as a coping mechanism. But that's why you see some people start staying out late to come back home, because when they get home, there's a lot of problems waiting for them. Do you understand now? Now, so it contributes a lot to making them get depressed. And woman is one of the factors that make men get depressed. So I can't say no, men don't get depressed when they have a breakfast served by women. Yes.
But it's not men that serve breakfast.
What?
I wanted to say, it's not men that do most of the serving.
I wouldn't judge. I wouldn't judge. Whoever served the breakfast, right? Exactly. But, the truth of the matter is the truth of the matter, the way a man is, the physiological building of a man and the way the man's brain is wired, he absorbs shocks more than a woman. He can withstand it. Even when a man is in pain and in trauma, even when he breaks up with a woman, he won't want to show it. He wants to live to the expectation of the society that, oh, I'm a man and the society expects me to live up to this. Why a woman is wailing, crying, shedding tears, tearing everywhere, that she's heartbroken and all of that. And that is why you see people now look at it that when women do this, they tend to look at her as kind of, she's kind of emotionally manipulating people. Do you get? And she's calling the human sympathy because she's a woman, and people will come. Because the man is not showing it. Men go through a lot as well when they have these breakfasts, right? So men I must be honest with you, men suffer it more. And in most cases, that's one of the things that hampers or even affects their next relationship. When a man gets heartbroken, he becomes tougher in the next relationship he gets in. And it's very difficult for him to give love back to the second person he has met. If he had love in his life when he was with the first person, maybe 70%, the next person he's meeting is like 30%. That's how drastic it can be. And that's when you see them become as good as you can call them evil or wicked, right? Exactly. And then, in the Nigerian parlance, men has come. Now, another thing that makes men behave that way is the fact that women has always played this card that, I can't go out with you if you don't have anything. So men now use that, okay, if I'm providing, and because you're liking me or you're loving because I have to provide for you, then you don't have value. I'm giving you, this is some of the clinical experience I've had with people in my clinic. Do you understand? A man comes up with that mentality that, I'm doing virtually the whole thing. So who are you? You're just my woman, and I'm taking care of you, so you should be a subject to me. Until women will rise up to the expectation, they have to create some value for themselves and create some, make man feel that I can contribute to your life. A man wouldn't insult you. A man wouldn't look at you like, a cheap material that can just be flinged like that. Right? But when you now make a man feels like, okay, fine, you have nothing to offer, and it's just that relationship, and then you're still giving him trouble, then be rest assured that you're going to get that breakfast you're looking for. But when a man meets a woman that is intellectually sound, is career driven, let me say a virtuous woman, he hardly lets go. And those are the women that makes them get depressed easily. He has something he's holding on to. But if you are somebody that has no contributions to his life, and you're just looking at your aesthetics of a beautiful woman, then a man will tell you that, with or without you, the beautiful ones are not yet born. So it's a genetic component of a man that it has been built. And then coupled with the fact that a man has been molded in that context in our society as an African man, he reacts this way. And that's where the mental conditions comes in of the breakfast, depressions and all of that. He's being brought up to be rigid. Do you understand now? So that's the problem, and that's the society we find ourselves in.
So in conclusion, you're saying that men are bound to be more depressed than women?
Men are bound to more depression than women.
Okay, and that is according to statistics?
Statistics. It's online. It's scientific proven.
Wow, that's actually very interesting. Okay, remember, this is still on Yes Healthy Living Show. We're speaking with Dr. Jeremiah Inja, a clinical psychologist and state mental health specialist. We're talking about overcoming depression in a culture that says be strong. Because most times we go through all these depressive episodes and we do not talk about it because we are scared of being judged, because we've been wired in such a way that we do not talk about how we feel, and we are seen as less than humans when we talk about our true feelings. Well, Dr. Jeremiah has been able to lay some facts to bear with regards to the issue of depression. But there are also some misconceptions about depression that I also like him to clarify. He has managed to clarify a few. Like the first one, he said that only He said something about depression is not sadness, and depression is not something that you can just snap out of. And it's only weak people that get depressed. Another thing I want to find out is another misconception: is this true or not? It's depression can only be cured by medication. Is this true or not?
Oh, not at all. Like I said before, remember, this is, depression is a continuum, right? So it cannot be cured by only medication. It has to be holistic, right? However, the medication aspect of it will play its role. We have that aspect of religious component of it that it can play a role in, helping people overcome depression. We also have the societal component of it, let's say the community. So when we come from the religious perspective, there are some religious, practices like prayer, meditation, and the support from the family that makes people, the faith-based practices that gives people a source of hope and some level of confidence that there's life after now and there's hope in them regaining from that. So it gives them that it rebuilds their self-esteem and gives them that confidence and hope which is already lost. Are you getting that now? So medication can give you hope. Now, one of the things that medication does in treatment of depression is, is a mood stabilizer. Yes. Now, when treating depression, what it does is stabilize your mood. Depression is a mood disorder. So what they are trying to do is to stabilize your mood, but it's not going to stabilize your emotions. It's not going to rebuild your confidence. It's only going to, stabilize your wild thoughts. It's only going to calm your excessive worries and begin to make you get back yourself. But the religious part of it, whereby the Christians, and maybe where people go to church and other faith-based practices that encourages people about hope, the prayer, there's hope in prayer, and someone who believes in God. For instance, now let me shock you. If someone has depression and you're treating the person on medication and the person does not accept or believe in that medication, it won't work. Keep giving the medication. As far as the emotional part of the brain is not okay, do not recover. So one of the first steps in recovery in any mental health case is acceptance. So if you see a client now or a patient you want to attend to and the patient is resistant, we call it psychic determinism. You cannot break through that chain of treatment, and that will be difficult for you to make that client recover. So in essence, what I'm saying is medication plays a role, but it cannot holistically treat a client back. The emotional component of it is also there, and the social component of it is also there. So you have to marry this, and that forms what we call in clinical practice the biopsychosocial model of treatment.
Okay. All right. So we have some comments on our Facebook page. So I'd like to read out some of them. So if you have something to add. All right. So somebody said Nigeria is suffering from economic depression. And someone else said the becoming depression needs a very close watch to our lives. We need to check on our loved ones to know how they also feel. And someone else said, I understand that our culture values strength, but ignoring mental health can lead to devastating consequences. It's crucial we find a balance between resilience and seeking help when needed. And another one said, I do say depression and madness are related. Is that true?
All right, so that's not true.
That's not true?
That's not true.
Okay.
Depression and madness are not the same. So if you say depression and madness, if you say depression is same with madness, then what do you term schizophrenia? However, depression is a mental condition that affects, it's not madness. It's not. In fact, there are 90% chances of someone who has been depressed to recover quicker than someone who has schizophrenia. That's on another level entirely. When you're talking about someone who has schizophrenia, this is someone who has, lost touch with reality. So, but that's the topic for another day, when we now begin to dissect the anatomy of schizophrenia. Right? Then we'll also talk about the anatomy of suicide, when I made mention of types of suicide, where you talk about the attempted suicide, the interrupted suicide, the aborted suicide, then how to assess suicide, talk about the preparatory act of suicide, right? The method and plan of suicide, and all of that. They are components of one to another. So mental health is a continuum of conditions. If you don't manage well, it will lead to another. But however, like I said, depression is not madness. So we just want to correct that notion the person has.
Okay, is there a correlation between BPD and depression? That's bipolar disorder and depression.
Okay, so now, you see, somehow, someone can be suffering from, depression. It might be mild and also have a touch of bipolar disorder. How? Now, there could be a diagnosis like maybe say bipolar affective disorder, comorbid depression.
What's that?
When you talk about comorbidities, it means it is induced by this or it's caused by this, right? So now if you say depression, if you say bipolar affective disorder, comorbidities, you are saying this person is having bipolar affective disorder as a result of the depression he suffered from. Or this person is having depression as a result of the bipolar affective disorder he suffered from. But remember, bipolar affective disorder is another serious mental health condition on its own again, that if you need to talk about it, take you another 3 months to be talking about that. Do you understand? It has to do with anger, and it could be mania, right? On one in 1 minute the person is on this pole, and the next second the person is on another pole. So it's switch in between the mood, it's switch in between the anger, the person, and there's a series of intense irritability, excessive energy. This person does not rest. When he starts having that episode, you see that he can be in the house and be walking left, right, center, up, down. Excessive energy will work morning till night without resting. And in that situation, there could also be an overblown anger. So it appears and occurs in different people depending on scenarios that happen. I don't want to be going into this because we're talking about depression today, right? Because if we're going to talk about this, we will jump from depression and enter the next and all of this. But like I said, it could be a term for another day.
So another misconception I want you to clear up is if someone is functioning, they can't be depressed. Is that
Very well.
true?
Yes. As we are here now in the studio here, you can't tell if you are depressed. Yes, but you're functioning, right? It depends on the severity of the depression. So now, like I said, depression, you have types of depression, stages of depression or levels of depression. Now, you have the mild depression, moderate depression, major depression, and severe depression. Depending on the severity of your depression, you can function. Someone who has mild depression can be functioning. However, the productivity level in the office or whatever he's doing, there will be changes you might notice, right? But he'll be working. But when he now moves to moderate depression, it's more or less that it's more noticeable because it will affect the daily function of that person grossly that you will notice very well. By the time it gets to major, it's a total breakdown at that point in time because the person is not coordinated. In fact, it's total withdrawn to every activity, loss of interest in everything. It becomes a major, it's a clinical depression at that point in time. So at that point in time, the person, in most cases, such people are admitted in the hospitals. You can't see such as outpatient until they are able to, attain remission. That's when you can now start seeing them as patient.
So are people with depression always sad?
Yeah. Remember, sadness is a symptom of depression, but I said it's not a one-day thing. It's a continuum. Every day, every day, every day, every day. Because it's a mood disorder, so you're not happy. You're always unhappy. You wake up, you don't know, but you're just not happy. You're just unhappy with everything around you. Right? With the fact that you're not making it the way you want to make, the fact that your activities and your business is affected, you are thinking, how can you be happy when you wake up and you're excessively worried about how to be able to make 1 million in 5 days? And you'll be making 10 million, and all of a sudden you can't make 10 million. You're battling with 1 million. Tell me, will you wake up and be happy? So there are triggers that pushes you. It's not something you can control within you. The body fights it. You try to fight it so that you can be, but the more you are struggling, the factors are hitting you hard. Just like the person made mention on the Facebook, Nigeria is suffering from economic depression. Everyone is in it. The inflation rate is high, over 35%. The things you used to, purchase with maybe 35,000 naira, you can't purchase a bag of rice with 35,000 naira now. So, assuming someone earns 35,000 naira and has 2 kids or 3 kids, imagine the kind of emotional trauma the person will be going through in trying to meet home's demands in the home. This person is paying school fee. This person have kids. If the children are sick, he will take them to the hospital. Can you see? How long would that person battle? Within 3 months, there's tendency that person will be depressed. That's just an aspect of the economic factor contributing to triggering depression, right? And once that is happening, when somebody is battling to meet financial needs in the home, sadness comes in, and it's going to be a routine of every day. And someone who cannot meet his financial demands, let's not even talk about man, and let's go to women. A woman, let's see the husband cannot meet her financial needs again. You dare not go to her in bed in the night and tap her, turn this side. She will not answer you, right? Why do you think so? She has already lost interest in sex. And if that persists for a period of time, this woman has endured for a period of time, managing with what you're providing in the home. And over time, she has lost it. So even when that money comes back, and it will take time for her to get back herself, it is if she's not treated emotionally.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So, as a mental health professional, what advice could you give somebody that might be listening or might be watching us right now who is battling depression? What would you say to the person before we go?
All right. So, I would say there's no health without mental health. If you know you're battling with mental health challenge or depression, kindly seek help as soon as possible. Reach out to mental health care professionals or healthcare professionals so that you can get the needed help that you deserve. Don't sit down there and die in silence. Speak out, because when you die, the world still continues. But when you speak out and you get the needed help, through you, people will know that something like this is happening, and they can also be resolved. They can also get help. Now, there are a lot of mental health services you can access. Currently, I know of where the governor approved of the mental health services in the state, which I'm also part of the team, right? So you can equally go to Northia, you can go to any of the general hospitals in the state, and you can access mental health services. With also the state mental health focal person in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Okeke Uche. So we have a robust team now on ground that you can also equally access these mental health services, right? So, and it's just a token. It's not as expensive that it used to be, right? You just go there and access these mental health services. Now, there are also online therapy services. You can go online and, you can get therapy services now. For people who are prominent because they don't want to come out, because of the stigma, all of that, there is what we call teletherapy. At the comfort of your home, you can access this online. You understand? So you can see Google online and get all these mental health services at the beck and call, and then you can access your mental health services online. You have, I think, as a professional in field, I know that there are services online like the Spring Health, the Atari Mental Health, and the Blue Room Care, and a host of other that I know, right? And that's just like I mentioned 3 that you can access online and you can get, just like telemedicine. It's all over there. And as I say, and last but not the least, people actually, for those that, are fit bees, it's a very good component of mental health assessment. But while you receive your mental health services, also do not throw that aspect of your spiritual lifestyle, because it has a very significant role in promoting your emotional well-being, right? It's very significant. I tell people for a fact, there is in practice, there's a rule for religion, spirituality, and psychology. Each plays its role. No one or none play or stand on its own. For instance, if I'm a Christian or you're a Christian and you come to me and I'm treating you and I do not recognize your religion in the treatment, it has a way of impacting on the treatment. If you're a traditionalist who doesn't believe in God and an atheist, You understand? You have to recognize the person's tradition, whatever the person believes in, just to treat the person. Then outside that professional aspect of it, you can now, okay, fine. When the person recovers and you want to, like, okay, say you're a Christian and you want to introduce Christ to this person, you can now start that journey. But in that process, don't mingle or try to come into the belief system of that person, because it's going to hamper and scatter everything. So, like I said, and like she's giving me the room to say it again, if you have a mental health condition or you have a depression, never you think it's a weak man syndrome. Seek help. Very important. Seek help. Reach out. We have Amaku here. We have General Hospital in Iguku. We have a lot of the services in the States. I can't keep mentioning. So, thank you.
Well, you heard everything Jeremiah Injia had to say today with regards to mental health struggles, especially with a particular focus on depression. Depression is real, and struggling with it does not make anyone weak. Strength is not just about hiding pain, it's also about admitting that you need help, embracing support and seeking help and taking steps towards healing. As we wrap up today's program on overcoming depression in a culture that says be strong, I'd like everyone to know that you're not alone. And if you're battling depression, it's always advisable that you reach out to a professional counselor, a mental health expert, and talk out your problems with the person. Do not allow anybody to make you feel less of yourself, and do not allow anybody to tell you that you're weak because you're depressed or because you're seeking solutions to your depression. Remember, your mental health should be your priority. The same attention you give your physical health also equates the same attention to your mental health. We'd like to thank Jeremiah Injia, clinical psychologist and a state mental health specialist, for coming on the Yes Healthy Living Show today and educating us on everything that we need to know about depression, especially in a culture that says be strong. Thank you, Jeremiah.
You're welcome.
Okay, we hope to see you some other time. We'll call you.
It's a pleasure. I will definitely show.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, this is where we wrap up today's edition of Yes Healthy Living Show. Remember, tomorrow is another day to go and exercise your body. Remember, Jeremiah said something about the psychologist. I said something about exercising and nutrition helping to manage depression.
Exactly.
So, Saturday is another day to stay fit and stay healthy. So make sure you come out for your exercise tomorrow at the stadium. It's a healthy living exercise. And I am Priska Wampo, and this is still the Yes Healthy Living Show. Hopefully, we're gonna still be here next week, Friday.